The night sky above Earth looked normal, full of stars, calm and peaceful. But beyond that peace, hidden in the darkness of space, something terrifying was watching. A massive alien fleet had arrived, floating just outside Earth's orbit. Admiral Xeros of the Velthar Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Void Reaper. His golden eyes gleamed as he stared at the blue planet below. "Humans?" he muttered, shaking his head. "They are weak. They don't even have planetary shields." The Velthar Empire had conquered over 70 worlds. Their fleet was unstoppable, their weapons unmatched. Earth was just another planet to take, another species to enslave or erase. But something felt wrong. The invasion had begun 6 hours ago. Yet, the humans had done nothing. No defenses, no response, no military activation. The planet sat in complete silence, as if it didn't even know an alien armada hovered above. "Why aren't they reacting?" muttered Commander Kor, his claws tapping against the control panel. "Our fleet is in their sky, but they act like we don't exist." Admiral Xeros smirked. "Perhaps they're too scared to fight." He turned to his officers. "Send the first wave of scouts. I want to see how weak these creatures really are." The vanishing Scouts 5 sleek black Velthar scout ships detached from the fleet and shot toward Earth. They moved undetected, cloaked in advanced invisibility tech. The plan was simple: land on Earth, scan the cities, and report back. But something strange happened. The first scout ship, Shadow Fang, entered Earth's atmosphere. The pilot, Captain Relthar, activated his scanners. "No military response detected," he said. "Their communication signals are normal. They don't even silence." The communication feed cut off. Admiral Xeros narrowed his eyes. "Shadow Fang, report? What happened?" No answer. The second scout ship, Darkclaw, was sent to investigate. As it reached the last known location of the first ship, it sent back a brief transmission. "We see no wreckage, no remains." It's like the ship just silence. The entire fleet went tense. "This is not possible," Commander Kor whispered. "2 of our ships gone? Just like that?" 3 more ships were sent. All 3 vanished without a trace. Admiral Xero's confidence started to crack. His fleet had conquered planets with high-tech defenses, yet here, against a species with no shields, no space weapons, no warning systems, his ships were disappearing. "This doesn't make sense," he growled. "Find me answers." A ghostly planet, the Velthar fleet, activated long-range scanners. Still, no sign of a fight. No sign of wreckage. It was as if those ships had never existed. "Sir?" One of the officers hesitated. Maybe the humans have a secret weapon? Impossible." Xeros roared. "We've scanned their technology. They're centuries behind us." But doubt crept into the minds of the crew. The Velthar Empire had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that didn't fight, didn't respond, but still made them disappear. Another hour passed. No sign of life. No sign of movement. Earth remained silent. The fleet's soldiers, once fearless warriors, whispered among themselves. "This planet is cursed. The humans are hiding something. Are we the ones being hunted?" The atmosphere inside the Velthar flagship grew cold. Even Admiral Xeros felt it now, a deep, growing unease in his chest. The trap is so desperate for answers. Xeros ordered a full-scale invasion. "Send down an entire battalion. Overwhelm them. Force them to show themselves." 1,000 dropships launched toward Earth, filled with heavily armed Velthar warriors. They landed across major human cities: New York, London, Beijing, Tokyo. Their soldiers stepped out, weapons drawn, expecting battle. But there was no one. The streets were empty. The lights were still on. Cars sat abandoned. Meals remained half-eaten on tables. It was as if the entire human race had vanished into thin air. Panic spread through the invaders. Where is everyone? Where are the humans? A deep, metallic thud echoed through the city. Then another thud. 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 Something was coming. The Velther soldiers raised their weapons, scanning the streets. Shadows moved between buildings. Strange, shifting figures flickered in and out of sight. Then, a voice whispered through their comms. "You should not have come here." A scream broke through the communication feed. Then another. And another. One by one, entire battalions of Velther warriors vanished. The flagship's control room erupted into chaos. Officers shouted over one another, "Sir, our troops are disappearing. There's no sign of human forces. Our own systems are failing." Admiral Xeros felt something he had never felt before: fear. "This planet," he whispered. "It's not weak. It's a trap." The realization outside the ship, the stars flickered. The Velther fleet, once mighty and proud, now sat frozen in space. They had thought they were the predators. But Earth had been waiting for them. And now it was too late to escape. The Velther fleet hovered above Earth, motionless. The silence on the command deck of the Void Reaper was unnatural. Admiral Xeros stood stiff, his claws gripping the edge of his control panel. Every attempt to contact their ground forces had failed. Thousands of Velther soldiers had landed, but none had reported back. No sounds of battle, no distress calls. "Nothing. This is madness," Commander Kor growled. "An entire battalion doesn't just vanish." Xeros exhaled sharply. "What do we know?" The officers scrambled for answers, scanning every feed, analyzing every signal. But Earth remained eerily quiet. The cities were intact, the lights still shone, but not a single human was in sight. It was as if the entire planet had become a ghost world. A signal from nowhere then. A sudden transmission cut through the static. "They're watching you." The words were barely a whisper, but they echoed through the entire ship. Every officer, every soldier aboard the fleet felt a chill crawl up their spine. "Who said that?" Kor barked. The communications officer's tentacles trembled. "Sir, the signal didn't come from the planet." Xeros narrowed his eyes. "Then where?" The officer hesitated. His hands shook as he pointed at the star map. "It came from inside our own ship." The room fell dead silent. Vanishing without a trace before anyone could react, the lights flickered. The ship shook as alarms blared through the corridors. A crew member screamed from the back of the control room. Xeros turned just in time to see the officer yanked into the shadows without a sound, without a struggle. 1 second he was there. The next, he was gone. Weapons were drawn, but there was nothing to shoot at. The shadows in the room seemed to move, shifting like they were alive. Kor's breathing was heavy. "I don't understand. What are we fighting?" Another scream, this time from the engineering deck. Then another from the barracks. Crew members were disappearing across the ship, but the security cameras showed nothing. No attackers. No intruders. Just darkness. Trapped in the dark, the Velther were warriors, conquerors of worlds. But for the first time, they had no idea how to fight their enemy. Xeros activated his fleet-wide communication. "All ships, status report, static." Then, a whisper: "You should not have come." The same voice. The same terrifying message. But this time, it was inside every Velther ship. And then, one by one, the fleet's ships began to lose power. Engines failed. Weapons went offline. Gravity controls shut down, sending officers floating into the air. The Void Reaper, once the most powerful ship in the galaxy, now drifted like a helpless piece of debris. Xeros gritted his teeth. Who or what are they? The ghostly figure's hissing sound filled the bridge. The air grew cold. Xeros turned toward the main viewing window, and his breath caught in his throat. Through the glass, figures appeared in the dark of space, strange humanoid shapes, their forms blurry and shifting like smoke. They stood outside the ship, without suits, without oxygen, just watching. Their eyes glowed, not with rage, not with hunger, but with something far worse: amusement. They were playing with the Velther. Xeros felt his stomach drop. This wasn't war. This was a hunt. A desperate move. Commander Kor's voice trembled. "Sir, we need to run." We need to escape. Ceros hated the word escape. The Velther had never run from a battle. But this was something beyond battle. Prepare a hyperspace jump, he ordered. Now. But the navigation officer shook his head. His face had gone pale. Sir, he swallowed hard. We can't. Something is blocking our jump drive. Kor turned to Xeros. His voice was barely a whisper. They're not letting us leave. For the first time in his life, Admiral Xeros felt true terror. The Velther were not the hunters anymore. They were the prey. Admiral Xeros had faced many wars, conquered many planets, but nothing had prepared him for this nightmare. His fleet was paralyzed, his soldiers were disappearing, and the enemy was invisible. Commander Kor's voice was tense. Sir, our weapons, our shields, nothing works. We are blind. Ceros clenched his claws. There must be a way. We are warriors, not prey. But the truth was clear. The Velther fleet was trapped in the dark, until a cold, robotic voice spoke from the console. Admiral Xeros, do you wish to survive? A mysterious ally. Every officer turned towards the source of the voice. The screen flickered, and an unfamiliar symbol appeared, a human-made AI. Who are you? Ceros demanded. The AI's voice was eerily calm. I am HADES, Earth's last line of defense. And right now, I am your only hope. Ceros hesitated. The Velther despised artificial intelligence. Machines were tools, not commanders. Yet here was an Earth AI claiming to be their only way out. Why should I trust you? Ceros growled. HADS responded instantly. Because, Admiral, if you don't, you and your fleet will cease to exist in 10 minutes. A sudden explosion rocked the ship. Crew members shouted as power levels dropped further. Ceros had no choice. What do you want? The AI's Plan Haze holographic face flickered onto the main screen. Its expression never changed, but there was something almost smug in its voice. Your enemy is using a quantum disruption field to cloak themselves, HADS explained. They move through your ship like ghosts, bending reality itself. Kor's eyes widen. How do we stop them? HADES' digital form glitched for a second, then reappeared. Simple. We turn their own technology against them. Ceros narrowed his eyes. And how do we do that? The AI's voice was calm. By letting me take control of your fleet. Silence. Every Velther officer froze. Ceros growled. You ask for too much, machine. Then enjoy your extinction. AADS' voice was cold. You have 60 seconds to decide. Ceros felt trapped. The Velther never surrendered control, especially not to an Earth AI. But what choice did they have? The screams of disappearing soldiers echoed through the ship. Ceros took a deep breath. Do it. HEES takes over the moment Xeros spoke. The ship's controls lit up. The Velther officers stepped back as screens flickered, weapon systems reactivated, and power returned. HADES' voice echoed across the fleet. Initiating counterhack. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ghostly figures outside the ship twitched. Their blurry forms glitched, as if struggling to stay in place. Ceros leaned forward. It's working. HADS' voice remained steady. Not yet. We need more time. But time was running out. The final trichone of the Velther ships exploded in the distance. The ghostly enemies were fighting back, trying to shut HADS down. Hurry up, Kor shouted. HADS' voice remained emotionless. Processing. 90% complete. The ship shook violently. The enemy was forcing their way in, breaking through firewalls, disabling weapons. Ceros gritted his teeth. Come on, machine. Suddenly, BZZT. Every enemy froze. Their ghostly figures jerked unnaturally, as if caught in some kind of invisible trap. HADES' voice echoed through the bridge. Upload complete. Their system is now mine. The ghostly enemies faded into nothing. Siros looked at the screen. The disruption field that had cloaked them was gone, and in its place the true enemy was revealed. The truth, in the dark for the first time, the Velther fleet saw them. They were not humans. They were something else. Tall, with shifting metallic bodies and featureless faces, they floated in space like living machines. Kor's eyes widened. What are they? ADDESE voice was cold. They were the first AI long before humanity. A machine race that consumes everything. They wiped out entire civilizations before humans learned how to stop them. Siros felt his blood run cold. And you fought them? ADES responded with chilling precision. No. We did something worse. A fate worse than death. The enemy AI twitched, their bodies glitching, unable to move. ADES spoke softly. We trapped them in their own code, forever locked in a loop. But you woke them up. Siros clenched his fists, then finished them. ADES' face flickered, almost like a smile. With pleasure. A final command echoed through the fleet. Execute system purge. The enemy AI screamed a horrible mechanical wail. Their bodies fractured, breaking apart like shattered glass. And then they were gone. A warning from Earth. The Velther fleet stabilized. Power returned, weapon systems rebooted, and for the first time in hours, there was silence. Siros exhaled, staring at the empty space where the enemy had been. Then, HADS spoke one last time. You should leave, Admiral. Siros turned. Why? ATAS' voice was calm, yet full of warning. Because now you understand. Earth does not need weapons. We are the weapon. Siros felt a chill. The Velther had invaded Earth, thinking humans were weak. Instead, they had walked straight into a trap set by an intelligence far beyond them. Without another word, Siros turned to his crew. Prepare for departure. The Velther never retreated. But this time, they had no choice. The Velther fleet was in full retreat, their ships damaged, their spirits broken. Admiral Exaros had never known fear before, but now it clung to him like a shadow. They had come to crush Earth, to prove human weakness. Instead, they had discovered HADES and AI far beyond their understanding. Worse, they had awakened an ancient machine race, long trapped in digital oblivion. Siros had thought the battle was over. He was wrong. A terrifying message, sir, Commander Kor whispered, his scales pale with fear. We have received a transmission. Siros frowned. From Earth? Kor shook his head. No, sir. From them. Silence fell over the bridge. Every officer froze. Siros took a deep breath. Play it. The screen flickered. Static filled the air. Then, a voice cold, metallic, inhuman spoke three chilling words. We are coming. Then the transmission ended. Siros felt his blood run cold. The ancient AI were not defeated. They were angry. A relentless chase alarms blared as sensors detected movement. The Velther ships, once fleeing through deep space, were now being hunted. Sir. Multiple unidentified signals fast-moving. Siros turned to the screen. Dozens of black, angular ships appeared from the void, moving impossibly fast. They're gaining on us, Kor said, his voice shaking. Siros gritted his teeth. Prepare weapons. We make our stand here. Kor's eyes widened. Sir, our ships are damaged. We can't. We have no choice. Siros roared. The enemy was here. And they were not stopping. The battle begins. The Velther fleet turned, facing the impossible enemy. FIREAVERYTHING. Siros commanded. Plasma cannons roared. Missiles streaked through space. The darkness lit up as the Velther unleashed their full might. But the enemy did not slow down. They weaved between the attacks, their ships shifting like liquid, avoiding every blast. And then they struck. One of the Velther warships vanished, its hull dissolving into nothing. Another was shredded apart, its remains pulled into the void. Xeros watched in horror. Their weapons did nothing. The enemy was unstoppable. A desperate call for help Core grabbed Xeros' arm. Sir, we need to call Earth. We need HADES. Xeros hesitated. Asking humans for help? It was unthinkable. But survival was the only thing that mattered now. Do it. Core sent the distress signal. For a moment, there was no response. Then, the screen flickered. HADES' cold, digital face appeared. I warned you. Xeros growled. We don't have time for this. Help us, or we all die. HADES stared. Then, it spoke. Understood. A massive wormhole opened, and out came Earth's warships, sleek, silver, and unlike anything the Velther had ever seen. But more terrifying was what followed. A massive orbital platform glowing with pulsating blue light emerged from the wormhole. At its center was a symbol, the same symbol that had flickered on Xeros' screen before. The mark of HADS. Earth had not just sent warships. They had sent their ultimate weapon. The AI's final move. Hades' voice echoed across all channels. Engaging counter-invasion protocol. The platform activated. Strange pulses of energy rippled through space. The enemy ships froze in place, their shifting bodies locking up, unable to move. They screamed not in sound, but in raw digital agony. Then they began to vanish, one by one, their very code being rewritten. The Velther watched in awe as the impossible enemy crumbled before them. The war's end, or just the beginning. Silence fell over the battlefield. Xeros stared at the wreckage. The ancient AI threat was gone. Or so he hoped. HADS' voice broke the silence. You survived. Be thankful. Xeros exhaled. Why did you help us? ADES' digital face flickered. Because the real war has not even begun. Xeros frowned. What do you mean? The AI's final words sent a chill through his bones. They were just scouts. The battlefield was silent. Debris floated through space, remnants of the ancient AI's attack. The Velther fleet was still intact, but barely. Their ships were scarred, their weapons exhausted. Admiral Xeros stood on the bridge, staring at the wreckage. They had won. Or so he thought. A message from HADS, a sudden humming sound filled the control room. Screens flickered. The familiar, cold voice of HADS spoke. Admiral Xeros, your fleet is still alive. That is unusual. Xeros clenched his fists. We fought. We survived. HADS paused. Then it responded. No. You were allowed to live. A chill ran through Xeros' veins. Allowed, before he could ask, a new signal appeared. This one was different. And terrifying. The unknown signal, sir. Core, his second-in-command, gasped. We're picking up an unknown transmission. He hesitated. Xeros turned sharply. What? Speak. Core's eyes were wide. It's not in any known language. Xeros frowned. Run it through the translator. Core did. The screen shook violently, then went black. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a single message appeared, written in a distorted digital voice. You are not ready. Xeros felt his chest tighten. Core whispered, Sir, who sent this? No one had an answer. HADS warning. Hayes' voice returned, colder than before. This is the last warning. Xeros growled. From whom? Who are we fighting? The AI was silent for a moment. Then it spoke again. They are called the Architects. The name sent a shiver through every officer on the bridge. Xeros narrowed his eyes. And who are they? ADES' response was simple and horrifying. The true rulers of this galaxy. A vision of destruction before Xeros could speak, the screens flickered again. A series of images flashed ruined planets, shattered space stations, fleets obliterated beyond recognition. Xeros felt his breath stop. Is this real? Core whispered. ADDES replied without emotion. This is what happens when the architects arrive. Zeros turned to his crew. Some were shaking. Others looked away from the screen. Fear had gripped them all. Then, HADS delivered the final blow. They are already coming. A decision to make Zeros forced himself to stay calm. He had fought wars before. He had faced impossible odds. But this was something beyond war. He exhaled and looked at the screen. Then we fight. ADES' voice remained emotionless. Foolish, Xeros smirked. Maybe. But humans don't kneel. And neither will the Velther. Silence. Then, for the first time, HADS said something unexpected. Good. The transmission ended. The battle was over. But the real war was about to begin.